They're not coming on the stage. You're the moderator, right? Hi, guys. During that presentation, I heard Peter Schiff rolling in his grave.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to make him roll in his grave even more this time. All right, so guys, my name is Stefan Livera. I'm a podcaster and I'm a co-founder of an Australian Bitcoin education company called Ministry of Nodes. I'll just give our panelists just take a minute each and introduce yourselves, starting with you, Samson.
Okay, I'm Samson. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Blockstream. We're a Bitcoin infrastructure company and we've been working on Lightning since 2015.
Hi, I'm Alex Bosworth. I work at Lightning Labs. I'm the Lightning infrastructure lead, and we make LND, Lightning Loop, and working on an app.
Hi, my name is Alex Petrov. I'm Chief Information Officer of Bit4 Grow company. They also developing a lot of software, and one of the products is Lightning Pitch. It's exactly implementation of the Lightning oriented for end customers. They have also white wallet implementation, what they adjusting for customers. But mostly we are working just implementing Lightning between exchanges, between merchants, between the commercial customers.
Roman here, CTO at Huddle Huddle. We implemented Lightning trades this year.
Fantastic. So look, I think it might be just also interesting just to, I'll just give Samson just a quick chance to talk about what C Lightning is as well.
So our implementation is called C Lightning because it's written in C. It's a very lightweight Lightning implementation. It runs on very low power devices. It's highly customizable. We have a plugin framework. But it's also very suitable for enterprise usage because you can swap out individual daemons and customize it. So if you're running a lot of Lightning nodes, you can rip out the network topology and just have one server serving all your clients. Or you can rip out like the HSM daemon and replace it with a Harbor wallet.
Fantastic. And Alex, if you wanted to just mention some of the key products of Lightning Labs, LND, Lightning App.
Yeah, LND, I think it's like very widely deployed on the network. Got a lot of people, reckless people testing it out, including myself, even before I joined Lightning Labs. And LND is, very fully featured. We have watchtowers, we have static channel backups. So I think it's really fun to play with if you're you want to make your own Lightning app.
Fantastic. So look, we've got a few different themes to touch on today. I think an interesting one that maybe we haven't explored as much is this idea of Lightning as potentially applied with mining. Now, I know, Samson, you have, at Blockstream have recently come out with Blockstream mining, and potentially there might be some applications there in terms of payouts from the mining pool to the miner. Can you discuss if you see any potential possibilities around that?
Sure. So we're getting ready to make a Blockstream pool public maybe in a few months. But down the road, what I think you could do is have smaller miners, like miner miners. No laughter? Okay. But anyways, you could have like a Blockeruptor, ASIC Blockeruptor, and just do a few shares, and you get paid out over Lightning, like very small amounts. Because I don't think it would make sense to do large mining payouts over Lightning, but for smaller miners, you could do that.
Fantastic. Alex, Petrov, did you want to also discuss if you saw any potential applications around that? Would you see that as something that's beneficial for the miners and the mining pools to implement from a cost saving potentially?
So from cost saving perspective, they was providing also the transaction acceleration services before, but from the point of how Bitcoin is constructed, like prioritization of the transactions or processing the transaction absolutely without fee is a little bit against the Bitcoin economy. And the more natural way how I see it, so it's the future extension of Bitcoin protocol, and one of them, like the Segwit is creating like beautiful platform expanding the Bitcoin protocol. And a lot of people are thinking only on short-term effect, how the Segwit optimizing the fees, but the Segwit is also providing a lot of additional possibilities. And one of the extension, what they are really waiting is no input script, because it can simplify the Lightning implementation a lot. It can also exactly fix the prioritization of the transactions for Lightning, make them simpler, and also process the Lightning transaction much faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with L2, the change in the way channels are updated, and also a change in the penalty mechanism. Another idea might be worthwhile exploring, and I think, Alex, you were touching on this earlier in your talk, is around the submarine swaps. So in this example, you might be using a Lightning channel, and you may have exhausted the balance onto one of those sites, a local site or remote site. So let's say you are receiving payments. Now, all that balance is sitting in, if you've got an abacus, all the beads are sitting on your side. Now, how do you push them back out away? Well, you could use something like a submarine swap. So could you talk through what that might look like?
So imagine you are a Lightning merchant, and you're just you're receiving and receiving Lightning funds. But in the ideal scenario with a payment channel, funds are moving back and forth, back and forth. But if you're a store, maybe you're not actually needing to push the funds out. So with a submarine swap, you can use the Lightning Loop service that we provide at Lightning Labs, and you can push the funds back out. All the funds that you've received, you can push them back out off chain, and then we will send you back in a non-custodial atomic swap the funds back on chain. And so now you'll be able to receive more, receive more, receive more, and this can be done in a totally automated way. It's an API. So as soon as you start to run low on inbound liquidity, then you can just automatically get more inbound liquidity.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Roman, I wanted to throw it to you as well. So HODL HODL has recently implemented Lightning. Let's go with two parts. I want to understand what were some of the challenges that HODL HODL faced in implementing it, and then on the second side, what are some of the opportunities that you see?
So first of all, a year ago I said that we will be very careful implementing Lightning on the exchange because it's an untested technology. We might see bugs and vulnerabilities, which turned out to be true just recently. Yet we did implement it before that in spring 2019. And the reason was because we wanted to, be on top of this new technology and be the first exchange that did that. And we were the first exchange. I know Bitstamp and BitMEX, I think they're running their Lightning nodes, but it's not the same as, accepting funds. The challenge is, well, it's pretty much impossible to find a Lightning developer who's already familiar with the technology. So we had to train our programmers how to do that, and they had to learn a lot of things. So kudos to them. They're really smart guys, figured it out and implemented the whole thing really fast. And the opportunities, I think, the volumes are low now. Everybody understands that. One of the reasons we felt comfortable pushing it to production was because the volumes were low. We didn't care. Okay, well, if somebody loses money, we'll just refund them, and that's fine. And the reason we also wanted to push this to production as soon as possible was because you've seen what's been happening with fees. They go up and down all the time, and yeah, it's just people feel uncomfortable paying a lot of money to trade on chain. So we've seen some increasing in volumes.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because what we could potentially see is, as Pierre Richard was mentioning earlier today, this idea of you might open channels now when the fees are low and then transact over them if we hit a new bull market and the fees are very high. And as an exchange, you can facilitate it to be easier for people to still buy Bitcoin and sell Bitcoin without paying very high chain fee. So there's different opportunities there that can kind of dramatically allow many, many more transactions. Alex Petrov, sorry, it might be interesting if you could just outline a little bit around Lightning Peach as well. So what are some of the different components of that, and what might some of the audience use if they wanted to try out Lightning Peach?
So the Lightning Pitch, like a product, was a little bit changed because initially how the Lightning Pitch team was born initially. So they was just looking on the market, and our analyst was analyzing who was developing like Lightning protocol because it was just a paper. They discovered what the Elizabeth Stark, the Lightning Club, was quite close to design the final like alpha version, and they just hired five developers whenever working for a bit before, and they help just to design and make the first implementation. And then lately they continue to develop the Lightning in our own way. We start thinking how to use that product on the commercial scale, and because all the products it should be used, you're solving some kind of problems. Lightning is still very young, and the reason what the Roman was also mentioning, why the fees are jumping, because they facing some of the problems and they're trying to solve them. And they're adjusting also the Bitcoin protocol, and they also adjusting the Lightning protocol. And right now they also understanding what the Lightning requires some adjustment on the Bitcoin protocol level to make it even more successful. And this rising all the time, this is jump. Lightning Pitch initially was trying to design most simplest way for people who doesn't know how the Lightning is working, how to use it. They designed like first implementation of wallet, but mostly it was used by some of the customers. They just white label it, and it was not publicly available. We just testing the technology, and like Roman said, so some of them was just testing the small volumes because it was quite risky and very high chance to lose the funds. And it's still in development stage. Right now we have approximately 26,000 open channels, and it's a little bit less than 10,000 like Lightning nodes right now in the network. It's a little bit less than 1,000 Bitcoins are locked in Lightning network. But at the same moment, these can jump quite seriously. Lightning Pitch trying to implement the simpler payment, and the customers accepting them on the vending machines, on the coffee, on the very small, tiny amounts, there is risk quite low. And they're providing exactly the commercial solution between the merchants, between the OTC, for commercial customers who would like to get and test the Lightning implementation. But in most of the cases, it's still like the early phases, then the Lightning is like becoming stable and will be useful.
Why is it called Lightning Peach?
So I doesn't choose the name, so you're asking the wrong person. So the design team are always discussing what the best name. They also involving the marketing. I cannot provide you any backstory about that. Sorry.
Small teams, I guess they get to have their pick, right? And I think Roman, earlier you raised a good point around talent acquisition of Lightning developers. It's potentially a difficult problem just at this point, just because we're quite early. Did you guys want to just offer any of your thoughts on that and what it's been like, finding people to work on Lightning, and also your experiences in getting people trained up to work on Lightning? Let's start with you, Alex Bosworth.
Well, I'd say there's like multiple aspects of working on Lightning. One is kind of like the application developer side, and then the other one is more like the protocol side, like extending what you can do with Lightning. So actually, on the application side, I think if you want to go and make an app with Lightning, it's actually maybe even simpler than with Bitcoin, because you're not worrying about like pending confirmations or things like that. But if you want to push the protocol, then I think there is kind of an education gap at the moment. A lot of people who are implementing things, they really do need to go, and we're working on expanding the documentation, but they need to go and read the specs, and they need to kind of understand at a low level like what is actually happening with Lightning. And also, because Lightning is building on Bitcoin, it's probably also a good idea if they have Bitcoin expertise.
Samson, did you want to offer any comments there from the C Lightning point of view?
Sure. I guess it is hard to find people that can work on Lightning protocol stuff. We've been lucky. We have Rusty Russell. He's like a Linux kernel developer. We have Dr. Christian Decker, He actually wrote a white paper. I forgot the name of it, but it was a really weird name. But that was almost written at the same time as the Lightning white paper. So if he had passed academic review earlier, Lightning could have been called, what was it, dual channel micropayments or something like that?
Yeah.
Something fancier. But, and we also have Lisa Nagel. She's also great. So we have like a very strong, very compact team working on it.
Fantastic. Alex Petrov, did you want to offer any of your comments around that?
So, because it's a new technology, there is no possibilities to find someone, some expert, who can describe you all the details about the technology. And mostly, they hiring a lot of talented young people who are also winning different competition, like mathematicians, the economists, and even the physicists who also understand the physics. And they also like creating the future, because sometimes they are opening and describing for us how well it can be used. And it's really like looking for ahead, because you are not just discovering and improving the existing technology, but you're also creating the new use cases. And the Lightning by itself, the people right now maybe still not realizing, and they are still like discovering the same way how we are discovering Bitcoin. It can provide and change the economy a lot. Just comparing for like Visa payment, if we're talking about the like payments which taking like seconds, in Lightning we are talking about milliseconds. So it's meaning at least a 10,000 times increase. It seriously changes also the way how we are invoicing the services, because before we was not able to like collect the invoices on hour basis, on the minute basis, and the Lightning changed the way how we are thinking and how we are paying for services. Mm-hmm. And this is the critical moments, what we are still discovering, and the brilliant minds, the youngster minds, they should also think and discover and accept the new possibilities.
Fantastic. And with Lightning, obviously, it's still early days sometimes. With a small payment, it's quite easy to route that. But for a larger payment, it may take a longer time to find a route, or it may not be a successful route. Can you discuss if you found any issues around that? Perhaps, Roman, did you want to start with that? Have you had any problems like that, or not at all?
Yeah, sure. A lot of people, they install a Lightning wallet, and then they send bitcoins there. But they can't receive. They can send, but they can't receive, and that's an issue. It's like, how do I even start trading, right? So we have to explain those things. And then the UI itself, both on our exchange and the wallets themselves, is not perfect right now. It's like really much more complex, I would say, than trading on chain. So unfortunately, this has to be improved. And like I said, it's also partially our fault, because like we want to push it to production as soon as possible. But yeah, there are issues. I think they will have to be resolved. One thing I personally dislike, we had to go along with it, but I dislike the term invoice. And the reason it's been discussed on Twitter. Many people chimed into the conversation and had their opinions. I dislike the term because it is very ambiguous in different languages. Like in English, it might be very well understood what it is. But in different countries, different economies, different cultures, this term may not make sense. So I also realize it's probably pretty hard to change it right now, right? Like,
well, actually, there's also
all over the documentation, and
there's also a distinction between payment request and invoice. So, like originally, I was confused. What's a payment request and what's an invoice? The payment request is like the serialized version. The invoice is like your personal version. But keeping that straight, like I don't think anybody is keeping it straight.
Yeah, totally. And so it's a little bit confusing for people to start using this whole thing and just understand and grasp all of that. So I don't know. It will be improved, I'm sure, but it takes time.
Absolutely. I think if any of you guys have other comments around, actually, it might be interesting to ask you, Alex Bosworth, with BOS scoring, and could you give us a bit of an overview? What is a BOS score, and how might that be used as the network grows up?
Yeah, so one of the challenges that we've had just getting wallets out to people and getting them to connect to the network is that they need to select peers that are good peers. It's not like with Bitcoin where you can just connect to anybody and it doesn't matter if they're really doing their job as long as you have one peer that's doing something okay. With Lightning, you're actually locking your money to this person, so they better be online for a certain amount of time because otherwise, your money is stuck. So BOS score is kind of a way to say, let's connect to a wide array of people in the network, but let's try to make sure that we're connecting to people who are going to be online and they're going to have the liquidity, so you're not going to run into this problem where you can't receive or you can't send, that they're going to be properly balancing their channels. So that's something that we're evolving. It's kind of like at the prototype stage, but it's also part of the Lightning Labs app that we have kind of in testing.
Fantastic, thank you. This is probably going to be our last question. I'm going to throw this one to Samson. Now, this one's a little bit out there as well. So obviously, Blockstream, you've got Liquid, which is a side chain. Wondering if you could just give us a brief overview of this concept that I've heard of, but I don't know too much about, of Lightning on top of Liquid. What is that?
Right, so this is something a lot of people are very excited about because you can actually run a Lightning network on top of both Liquid Bitcoin, LBTC, or any Liquid asset, so like a token issued in Liquid. And that lets you do really cool stuff. Like you could potentially use a stable coin to do retail payments, like Tether or Japanese yen stable coin, just pay for anything, pretty much. And the sky's the limit. So potentially this could scale up to replace things like airline reward miles or reward points or whatever. But I think it's really cool, and it's in development, I guess. We have Lightning working on LBTC right now. But it's a bit more complex to get Lightning working on assets because with LBTC or BTC, you only have one asset. So you only track one thing per channel. But with Lightning on a Liquid asset, you have to track both LBTC and the asset itself. So this is requiring some architectural changes, but I think we can get there, if not this year, next year.
Fantastic. That's some really exciting stuff. All right, guys, that's all we've got time for. So please put your hands together for our panelists.
Right, we're going to have a break, and then we've got the final stretch. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just want to say, please get back here for 15 minutes time. We want to try and finish on time today, and we've got 3 excellent sessions left for the end of the day. So go and use the loo, grab a beer, coffee, whatever, but try and get back on time. Okay?